For the knowledge that we have and what we know about the Labour Party, we know that is an affiliation of the NLC and the TUC to the Labour Party. And it looks like the Labour Party is a political wing of the NLC. It looks so much so, based on the relationship that we have seen. In fact, there are those who even argue further that within the constitution of the Labour Party, that the NLC is clearly captured. There are those who also will argue that, in fact, members and chieftains of the NLC are statutory members in the leadership of the Labour Party. So the question is, what is the business of NLC in Labour Party?
Well, thank you very much, Seun. We have tried to answer this question severally on several occasions, but I think the conflict that have arose now gave us an opportunity to continue to shed more light. First and foremost is that the Labour Party was formed by the NLC in realization of a clear objective in the constitution of the NLC. Under Article 3 and Item 1, the major objective of the NLC is to promote, defend, and advance the economic, political, and social rights and well-being of Nigerian workers and pensioners.
So NLC owns Labour Party?
We own the Labour Party. It was formed under the leadership of Pascal Bafiao as Party for Social Democracy. Under Adams, organs decided to change the name to Labour Party. And the first chairman is S.O.Z. Ejiofor, who later handed over to Dan Onyawu. As of today, the registry certificate of the Labour Party is in custody of the NLC. And therefore, this is in tandem with what happens globally. If you hear about the Workers' Party in Brazil, it was formed by a counterpart, CUT of Brazil. If you hear about the Labour Party in the UK, which for 150 years was in the Teachers' Union Office Secretariat, formed by the unions. If we hear about the Labour Party in Australia, in New Zealand, all of them are actually formed by the workers in realization of the fact that what is politics in itself? Because it's good you understand what is politics. Politics is about how you are governed. And therefore, in defending those rights, workers also have a right to have some of those platforms to defend their rights. And that's why you can have an Okada rider now having a platform to contest and become member of the House of Rep. The essence of it is actually to be sure that we have a platform where workers, pensioners, academia, in many times, it is people that have excelled in their various disciplines that actually go into politics. And in most cases, because of the constraint of money, they cannot also find space in some of the bigger political parties. So the essence of forming the party is to make sure that workers, pensioners, farmers can be able to have a platform to exercise their rights, which is enshrined in Section 40 of the Constitution, which Justice Uwais in 2003 has expounded on it in a landmark judgment to say workers and civil servants in particular have a right to be card-carrying members of political party to defend their right and interest. That's giving interpretation to Section 40 of our Constitution. So clear, straightforward, the party was formed by NLC, registered by NLC. It's like you build a house or you bought a car. You build a house. You have the CFO. Then you rented the apartment. So you must have an interest on how the property is managed.
Is it true that some leaders of the party of the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, are statutory members? We understand that there are 3 deputy national chairmen of the Labour Party, who one must be from the TUC, one from the Labour Party. Is that what the constitution of the Labour Party says?
No, that is not true. Let me tell you what happened. Under my leadership, there have been disputes with the Labour Party, which went to court. And I want to tell you that Justice Gabriel Kolawole of the Federal High Court delivered a judgment on the 20th of March 2018 and said clearly that the Labour Party belonged to the NLC. So arising from that, there was a mediatory effort by INEC. And precisely on the 27th of June 2022, a peace was brokered, actually by INEC, and there was time of agreement. In that time of agreement, just to reach settlement, that's how we came out with the 3 deputies. One from TUC, and one from, not actually from NLC, it's a retired comrade, Ladi Ilya, who was formerly the president of NASU, Non-Academic Staff Union, and also the chairperson of the NLC National Women Commission. She retired from service, and she's serving as one of the deputies. So this is clearly what was contained in that agreement. What has brought about this particular dispute is the fact that the Labour Party leadership have not respected the content and the sanctity of that consent agreement, which was brokered by INEC. Part of it is, one, inauguration of members of the Board of Trustees under the leadership of SOZ Ejiofor, the first chairman of the Labour Party. That was item C on the consent agreement. The second item is the conduct of congresses from ward to local government and then the National Convention. Those two key items have not been respected because what the NLC saw was a letter calling for a National Convention. But there was also a timeline in actually the convocation of what local government congresses by the leadership of the party. And that should have taken place not later than 1 year from the signing of that consent agreement, which in law is like a judgment of a court. So this is what brought about the dispute. And coupled with what you said, many members of the party, including the treasurer, and many of the leadership have actually pointed accusing finger at the present leadership to say that, well, there have not been transparency in the management of the party. And all of this complaint, as far as I'm concerned, even during my time, have been forwarded to the NLC.
But,
so NLC need to act.
But the NLC pickets when there is a labor dispute. But in this sense, this is a political dispute. Why is the NLC picketing the Labour Party offices?
Simple. Dispute is dispute. Whether labor dispute or dispute relating to interest.
But the instrument of picketing by the NLC is for labor dispute.
No.
Not in this ramification.
No. The instrument of dispute can be deployed by workers. It's one of the rights in organizing. Let me tell you, organizing as enshrined in ILO Convention 98 entails many things. You organize unions, you organize actions, even strike is captured under Convention 98. So basically, what it entails is that organizing is very broad. And if you look at the compilation of the Committee on Freedom of Association of the ILO, it has actually defined that in all these cases, workers can deploy workers' power to be able to make sure that they have attention, issues are resolved. So it's to draw attention, to say that can you come to the round table so that these issues can be resolved. That's the only power that workers can deploy. That's the power that workers can deploy all over the world.
So what was the intention? To shut down the Labour Party or what, to do what exactly?
No, the intention is, can you come to the table so that the issues can be resolved?
What would be the table now?
The table
that Julius Abure should step down?
No,
or what?
To respect the sanctity of the June 27th, 2002 agreement, which was brokered by INEC and a copy forwarded to INEC. INEC is actually in custody of that particular document because, as I said, Justice Kolawole on March 2018 said the party belongs to NLC. And that's why the certificate of registration is actually with the NLC. So nobody builds a property. You have the CFO, and somebody is mismanaging the property, and you just keep quiet. It doesn't work that way because every fault of the party, people will now say, oh, Labour, you didn't manage the party very well. In fact, I can tell you that even out of office, many people have accosted me to say, well, they thought Labour Party is for the masses. Because in some cases, the forms that were sold to them for them to contest political office is even very outrageous, more than some of the big political parties. And that was not the idea.
Yeah.
The idea is even to make the forms free or collect just small fee to make sure that the party keep functioning.
What makes the Labour Party any different from the other political parties?
Ideology and philosophy of the founding parties.
Is this Labour Party that we see today, is it that the Labour Party leaving that ideology?
That's what I'm trying to tell you, that they have deviated from that philosophy and ideology. And that's what NLC and the leadership across board wanted to address.
So they've hijacked the Labour Party from the NLC? Certainly,
not hijacking. The party is being mismanaged. Because in the first place, the party has its constitution, NLC has its constitution. It's just like, I give you a scenario. You build a house, you rented it out, under some terms and conditions. So those terms and conditions must be respected. At any time, the tenant refuses to actually respect those terms and conditions, and you as the landlord, you have a right to say, no, can you come back? Can we discuss? Can we have a way forward? That's what is happening right now. Because this agreement I told you was signed under me. I signed the agreement. You can find copies. INEC have copies. And therefore, those terms are very sacrosanct in bringing about peace and stability in the party.
What would you say would be the way forward? I mean, and I'm hearing some calling for Julius Abure's head. Some saying he should exit the state. Some say he has questions to answer. Some say, in fact, they filed criminal petitions against him.
Oh, in the first place, the first fact is that the term of jurors Abure actually have expired long before now. Because when that agreement was signed on the 27th of June, 2022, brokered by INEC, the National Convention ought to have taken place 1 year after the signing of that agreement. So in clear terms, in consonance with that agreement, Julius Abure's term of office have actually expired. And therefore, any attempt to extend his term of office will lead to such a dispute.
So he's overstaying his welcome.
No, he has overstayed. And therefore, the best thing to do is to work with the party.
What if he wants to contest?
Yes, you can recontest, but under the conditions that have been spelled out. One, there will be congresses from ward to local government level in a very transparent way, up to the national level, just as other political parties have done it.
So
have you ever heard where Labour Party is doing convention at the ward level or at the state level?
So
no.
It is standing logic on his head by wanting to conduct a convention first
without
and coming.
Yes, without conducting ward congresses, state congresses, where it will be transparent, where our civil society allies will actually participate in the process and give us feedback, and also our structures, including the political commission. Political commission is a creation of the constitution of the NLC, which actually manages or interfaces with the Labour Party.
But if there is a mismanagement and misappropriation of funds is a criminal allegation, and one would have thought that those of you who have interest and stake in the Labour Party, by the virtue of your position in the NLC, would have gone to the police to make a claim.
Police have done full investigation. And he has been indicted. There is a complete report which has been forwarded to me even before I left office. And therefore, we have asked police actually to prosecute him. You are aware that at the time he was actually hiding from the police. So the basic fact is that it has been established that there have been fraudulent acts within the Labour Party, and police have carried out in-depth investigation.
And it has been confirmed that Julius Abure is at the head.
Certainly. I can tell you that because those reports have been forwarded to me, even while I was in the office, and I handed over to my colleague who took over from me. So those facts have been well established. And the police ought to have carried out their
But what is
activity
the
without
NLC? If all of these facts have been established, what is the NLC waiting for that long? You've left office for over a year now. Is it? Yeah, about a year or more.
It's because it's with the police. The power to prosecute is actually the police.
So why has the police not prosecuted Julius Abure?
I think the process is ongoing, because at the time I read about some blackmail about the police trying to politicize the issue, but that's not the fact. The fact is that there was a committee, it has been established, and basically some infringement have been committed, and so we should allow the police to carry out their work.
Do you imagine, for example, that Mr. Peter Obi, who was a presidential candidate of the party, in other political parties, is going to be seen as a leader of the party, that he may, in one way or the other, intervene or lend his voice into what has been going on? Because Peter Obi's followers see him as someone who has an undented reputation. But with all of these shenanigans and all of these allegations smearing on the personality of the national chairman, don't you think that Mr. Peter Obi should have said something about this?
No, certainly I agree with you, because I remembered when we had one governor of Ondo State. He was actually the leader of the party at that time, when Dan Onya was the chairman of the party. And when such issues arose, there would be an interface. I remember I interfaced with Mimiko. I interfaced with the party then under late Salam, and we're able to actually find a way around this issue. So this is what we expect. Yes, you see, dispute of such nature is part of human endeavor. But what is important is how those disputes are resolved, and whether people are committed to resolving those issues. So I quite agree with you. Not only him, even those that have got elected on the platform of the Labour Party, I think they should show some concern to say that, well, this is a platform that is meant actually for workers, pensioners, and farmers, and they should actually come together to try to find ways and means of resolving the issue once and for all.